The Driving While Awesome podcast is recorded live to SD card at the Beeline Motor Club in Santa Cruz, California.
There's some flooring of the Kia Soul going on.
I mean, it's
Yeah, you're
basically
just flat for like 70% of your time.
Totally.
At the airport. Nice.
Do you make your wife suffer through podcasts?
No, on the occasion that I'm a guest, she does not listen. So.
only when you're a guest.
She does not listen.
Yeah,
Does not listen.
she would listen if
she
you're not
doesn't
on.
listen any other time.
No, she
either.
listens all the
She
time.
listens to other
Just
podcasts,
when you're a
but
guest,
not this one.
Like, fuck
and
that one.
Whether I'm on it or not.
Yeah. How nude do you have to be?
As nude as you want. What's up?
Dude, I'm just chilling. Just enjoying myself.
Dudes.
Welcome to Driving While Awesome. My name is Warren.
I am Lart.
And this is Lart. And this is Blaine.
Blaine.
I don't know why I said that, but
N-N-N-R.
you'll notice our scene looks a little different, and that's because Lane is water trash. He says that he's too sick to join us, which if he dies, this will explain it, because as we discussed before we started recording, he doesn't miss these things very often. So
He's gravely ill.
Lane, feel better. But in the meantime, Art is on the 1s and 2s and 3s, because we have 3 channels.
You always have to put your hand up against your ear, right?
That's
Yeah.
true.
Ideally,
we're
make some scritching noises.
Yeah.
scritching.
There are some sound effects over here. I don't know what does what.
Don't use
Just
those.
start pushing
I
buttons.
kind of want to
man.
push one.
Send it.
I pushed one and it blinked. I don't know what that meant. It did something. We're
There's like
still
a whole
recording.
synth track play just getting piped into the SD card right
Yeah,
now.
you just cut the whole recording right now.
I
We won't
did,
find
yeah.
out till later. And we're joined by Nick Cuarta of Beeline Motor Club.
Yeah.
Is that where
Beeline-
you're-
Beeline things. That's where we're at.
Beeline Things.
Oh,
Actually,
These are-
Beeline West, we call it.
that's what Warren calls it. It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. I like to. He's part of our auxiliary team. Can we call you the auxiliary podcast?
Can I just
Radwood
call
team?
you my friend?
Yeah. We're
Is that
friends.
okay?
We're all friends here.
Yeah.
We're all
I like
friends
it.
here.
Our-
We can talk about anything we want.
Auxiliary
seriously.
team makes me feel like I like my 360 flip's not really good enough to make it on the team. I'm
Yeah.
like just getting flowed boards.
Well, our
you
buddy
know,
Brendan
maybe some
came and
shoes.
hung out after Laguna Seca 2 weekends ago or whatever. Time is nothing right now. But he came and joined us at the hotel and had a drink. And then Logan cruised over, our buddy Logan from Hagerty. And I introduced Brendan as a friend of Driving While Awesome. Brendan's like, well, you could just say we're friends. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's true.
Friend of the podcast.
I've only known
Yep.
you like, 6 years or whatever. So, but yeah. So
This is
anyways,
true.
we're all friends here.
All of them.
Welcome to Driving While Awesome. This is a podcast about cars. And we have a lot to catch up on.
Ooh.
Wow. I don't know. Feels
Do
like
we?
it.
Yeah. Do you have some new news?
Uh,
New news.
Radwood Pacific Northwest happened.
That happened.
We've got other things in the works coming up, and cars and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah. How was PNW?
It was great. Should we get into that
It
now?
looked great.
Sure.
Let's
It
do
was
it.
awesome.
It was really good. That was our 3rd show in the region. And we teamed up with Griot's Garage, and they were amazing. So it feels good to that product we've seen forever. And then you see the actual people that do the stuff and make the things happen. And they're awesome car people. So that's kind of relieving. Super awesome guys. And their facility is amazing. I mean, first of all, their collection of cars is insane, but the shop and the retail store and the restoration shop and the storage, it's just built to suit what they do. It wasn't like they took something else and tried to make it work. It's like, how do you want to build this perfect corporate headquarters?
Yeah. It's really, really awesome. And as you said, yeah, they're really legitimate car people. Like, they're real gearheads through and through, and they own those cars. They drive those cars. Like, it was funny because I posted a 964 RS in
I saw
Maritime
that.
Blue that they
Maritime
have
Blue,
there.
yeah.
It's part of their collection. And some guy commented, like, better driven than just polished or something. And I'm like, well, how about polished and driven? The car has 30,000 miles on it. It's like, and you can tell, look at the seat. It's obviously used. And that's why I posted the picture. I'm like, this is a driver, it's so perfect. I would like to own it and enjoy it as is, as opposed to have it be this pristine garage queen, So
Someone commented that there was one on Bring a Trailer, and I forgot to actually go and look at it.
it's a touring. So it's got air conditioning. It's got the different seats and all that.
Probably
It's
better, really.
it's a really good car for
Yeah.
sure. But geez, I mean,
What do they go for?
dude, I don't know. I mean, it was at 300 and something with a couple days left. It's probably $500,000 at least now. And that's a touring, which actually are less desirable historically. So I don't know, man. It's a crazy market out there. But
So their corporate headquarters and the collection is up there in
in
whereabouts?
Tacoma.
Tacoma.
It's in Tacoma, and there's two different businesses. There's Griot's Garage, which is where all the cleaning products and everything come from, and then there's Griot's Motors, which is sort of a new venture that does restoration.
Yeah, I was a little unclear on that.
It's a little weird because they're actually
journey.
two separate businesses entirely, although you would never know that. So, but the collection at Griot's Garage is Richard Griot's mainly and his son, I believe.
Yep.
Cool.
And it's pretty amazing. I mean, we can go through it a little bit, but I mean, we'll start at the top. But Senna's F1 car, which I don't remember the year.
Mp47 92, I believe it was.
92?
Yeah.
That was a 90. Yeah. Anyways, it's the iconic, Marlboro livery, amazing McLaren. And then they've got a Tyrrell F1 car and then a matching.
I think it's a Martin Brundle car.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
And then a modern McLaren Senna with Marlboro livery. And McLaren.
I think it was a 675 LT.
I think you're right too.
Yeah. Or maybe a 720S. Shit, I don't know. I quite frankly, I did not pay much attention to that car.
It could have been a 600
because there's so much stuff in there, like my favorite car. I mean, jumping in real quick here is it the GT Engineering? Is that what they're called?
GTO.
Or GTO Engineering? Yeah. They make like those tribute, basically. Yeah, tribute cars,
it's a
right?
replica 250 GT short wheelbase on a Ferrari chassis with a Ferrari engine.
So is replica the right word? Is it more of a reproduction?
It's reproduction.
Because it's using.
I don't know
Ferrari
what
parts,
they're calling it. I'd like to be respectful.
Is it a
to
metal
their
body though?
Metal body.
Yeah,
metal
it's
body,
alloy,
formed alloy.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're using for basically all Ferrari components.
Yeah.
It's just that they make the body and the chassis basically.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, the body and the chassis are probably made to much more exacting standards than they ever were.
Sure.
In the day.
Well, especially now, if you were to get one like how they've been bent and
So that's why I was wondering. Like, I guess I would call it a reproduction personally because that's
tribute. I don't know what you would call it. Tributo, but very nice. Kind of a weird color choice. It was a dark silver or like a
It's
light
like a
gray.
Grigio Nero or something.
Yeah, it's a dark.
I just
gray.
had very little, very flat feeling paint for.
on
wasn't single stage or anything.
was
but
it a non-metallic?
It was metallic.
It's metallic, but it just didn't pop.
Yeah, but it's also in a.
Maybe they should have polished
Indoors.
it. You think?
Maybe they should have polished it. Maybe they should have ceramic coated it.
I think they know they have that down. Did you see that? I think it was an ISO Revolta Resto mod.
Yeah.
Badass car. I mean, that thing was very cool. Lincoln Continental, Suicide Doors
Suicide
black.
Doors
I think
classic,
that was built by J Rod or I forget who. But
LS7, and I mean it's
So sounds like a lot of Resto mod, a lot of driver cars.
Yeah,
in the
and then
collection.
and there's also a lot of Radwood era stuff, and that's what I curate. We talked to them, and I'm like, all right, let's pull some of that stuff up front. They have like a little exhibition area like behind their store, where there usually is maybe an 8-car display there, but we pulled some out and kind of curated them there. And so we had 964 Cup. So this is a very, very valuable car now. This is a body in white, basically race car that Porsche made for this Cup series that didn't actually happen. And I believe that car was never raced. And it has I want to say 40,000 miles on it. Wow. So it's, driven. And then the Tyrrell F1 car in that space with the McLaren Mp47. And then we had a Pristine 30 M3. We had the
512 BBI.
512 BBI.
328.
328 GTB. And then they have a 500E. They have, just and a lot of great stuff, really iconic stuff.
You know what was interesting? They were hoarding R32s, GTIs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
R32s?
Well, not GTIs,
people.
Well, VR6 R32.
It's a Golf.
Yeah, I mean, Volkswagen.
I think the R32 does seem to be in the zeitgeist now a little bit for collectors, which is
they were trying to collect all the colors.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, I like the car. From a driving standpoint, while I love the sound of the VR6, that 1.8T has the potential to make a lot more power and is also lighter and
much lighter,
lacks the all-wheel drive. So I think that's a better rally car in a lot of ways. But I think the R32 is definitely getting its flowers now.
Yeah. It's also the Haldex, right? So it's it's technically a front-wheel drive based system, and it's not designed to transfer all the power to the rear. Like that's like one thing that I remember reading back in the day where people were snapping axles and stuff, right? So,
but you've got like, just to get a little Volkswagen nerdy, you've got that cool, rear bumper and exhaust treatment on that car.
Yep.
You've also got
Great
like
interior.
This car has R32 interior panels, door cards all the way around because they were like nicer leather. Like the fit and finish and the trim on that particular car was a little nicer than the rest of the series. So
it's
a good one to have.
And they're heavy for a reason, right? Because they're overbuilt, they're more GT-ish, they're insulated, and like I remember like in period, like the Evos and the STIs like destroy them like on every like head-to-head test because they were lighter and simpler, but like sit in both and you'll see why. It's
totally like if you're gonna actually live with the car versus an Evo. At least in stock trim, way nicer. But that's just the problem with the VR6 is you're so limited in terms of the power you can produce easily.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Did you drink coffee before this?
I didn't, but how am I doing?
Doing great. You're doing great.
I was trying to punch it up a little bit.
Yeah, you're punchy right now. I like it.
I like it.
Exciting. Let me see if we can throw some other stuff in there that will perk you up a little more.
What do you got?
So there was one of my favorite cars in the
Any
space.
obscure British cars?
Was a Lotus Elan Series 1 lime green with a white bottom, which I hadn't seen before. Really cool looking car and really skinny little Dunlop race tires. That was one that I would definitely want to take, like personally.
The other cool car, British.
Wouldn't take it far.
Technically not British, actually. Kiwi? Bruce McLaren's F1 car, or maybe it was a F2. I can't tell.
Which one was that?
It was that yellow open-wheeled 60s F1 car.
Yeah.
4-cylinder, very
it might have been
simplistic.
F2. Yeah, it looked like a Cooper style, right?
Yeah.
Like that early,
Just
basic 60s style.
simplistic.
Cigarette shape.
Beautiful, and it was in not quite papaya, but their kind of standard orange color. So he's definitely a McLaren collector. I mean, two modern, two F1 cars or open-wheel race cars. I think they've got a bunch of stuff, man. And then like Nick Griotz has Wagoneer with an LS swap. I think it's LS swap.
Yep.
Cool.
With really beefy like bare brakes or something on it.
I wonder,
really
if they went like to Roadster shop for a chassis or something for those cars.
Right, or Art Morrison or something.
Yeah, notoriously.
Maybe.
Flexible.
We had him on the podcast and he described it, but I can't remember either. And then he also has like a Ford LTD wagon that's total, swapped and good wheels and.
Well, what about the Westie?
The Country Squire.
Yeah, and so that was super cool actually. And I was stoked at how stoked he was on the Vanagon, but his grandfather has property on Orcas Island, which is amazing place. It's like owning property in Big Sur, and he's lived there for 30 years. And his daily driver was a Synchro Westie, white, full camper. And they recently took it and restored it and put a 1.9 turbo in it, diesel.
Oh, cool.
And some other stuff, but did a really good job. And it was the interior was immaculate. It was very, very nice. And
Steel wheels.
Did they do that in-house?
I imagine so.
Next door, probably Griot's
At
Motors.
Griot's Motors, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, Griot's Motors is like, they're pretty, like super legit. Like they're trying to be up there, like competing with Canepa and stuff. Like,
so is it client? They're client. I wonder what split is client and personal.
No, I think it's a client-based shop, but they obviously have their own internal projects. And then like they were working on a 308 GT4 in a really beautiful blue, like a Zuro, I don't know what color, but really pretty blue with red interior, which had to be like
a sky blue metallic, basically.
Best looking GT4s I've seen. And then,
so what kind of scale is the resto shop operating at? Did you see cars in bare metal getting?
Yeah, they've got everything.
Paint in house.
Yeah, all that.
There was just some last minute changes. Unfortunately, we couldn't display it, but they had a Mark II Golf that was literally down to just the shell, and they were redoing it from the shell up.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I didn't ask what it was. I'm guessing it was a 16 valve for someone to be that deep in it. Sure. But it was
or a synchro or something.
Yeah,
or a rally or who knows.
It didn't have flares.
No, it didn't have flares.
But they had like a Unimog in there and just some random
a few
stuff.
Range Rovers down to like nothing also.
Doing it all.
Well, that's what you need for those P38s or older.
One
Older.
P38 in there, the one that was like half assembled, and then there was some older stuff as well. Yeah. But really cool stuff, and that's like a legitimate standalone.
Yeah,
business.
sounds cool. I'd love to see it.
I think we have to also talk about the Detail Wagon because
Well, I was going to get there because they did it. They did the Griot.
I
Griot's
know.
Motors restored and made that.
that's what I'm saying is like
made that.
so for the listeners, the viewers, they have this wagon that is made for, showcasing their products. They're a detail, company. And it's basically like if you just didn't know what it was, you would think it was like the best BMW ever. Really, I don't know. Like being a wagon fan like I am, it's a E30 M3 shooting brake. So it's a 2-door wagon,
Very
2-door
cool.
touring E30 M3. So it's wide flares, killer interior. It's got all these like cutouts for all their products and stuff in the back, like foam. And I think it's V8 powered, or is it V10? It's V8. I didn't see under the hood at all.
It has an M60 in it.
Thank you. M60, yeah. Manual transmission. It's red, it's like it's amazing and it's very well done. Like you can't tell where the cuts were or, they did a really good job with the glass and making the windows look right. It's incredible. So
It's super rad. Yeah,
The
and it's on
fact that
big
we've-
HRE mesh wheels.
yeah.
And I mean, they're perfectionists, right? Like that's what they're known for. And like the paint on that car is absolutely perfect.
Oh,
like
and how about
it's-
the paint on that Lincoln?
So that's what I wanted to talk about when you mentioned the Lincoln. So Lane and I, famously Lane will nitpick the shit out of anything.
Yes.
And dude, we couldn't find a fucking flaw. Like, and this is
It's a lot of panels too on that.
a
camera.
lot
It's
of big
it's a lot.
black,
Yeah.
dude, black panels, gigantic flat flat slab sided
This
thing.
low crown stuff.
Yeah,
that's
and
sort
then
of the
and then
worst
you
to do
also
from
have
sheet
a
metal
suicide
perspective.
door situation, which means there's joining there. So we look down the line, like we're looking at the reflections, and everything was reflected perfectly, like as it was. With there's a little bit of a contour there, right? But like no squiggles, no ridges. I mean, unbelievable. Like that's really someone showcasing their skills right there, like to the
Yeah,
max.
it was great. That thing
insane.
sounded amazing too. And yeah, so their collection is top notch, and they could not have been more accommodating and easy to work with, and they took care of our crew and everything. So
You know what's really
Cool.
awesome too about them? Obviously, they make amazing products, and this is not us. This is legitimately me, like being a fan, and I've been a fanboy of Griots forever. But like, they're also the type of company that, because they're a family-owned business and they're small, like if you have an issue or if you have feedback, like let them know, and they will literally test shit. Like they'll say, you know what, I saw this weird streak and it's consistent, or on this glass cleaning product, this is happening. And they have a lab. Well, they'll figure it out. They'll be like, all right, let's figure out what the circumstances are here. What's the situation? And basically they're constantly optimizing their products. Like, I mean, they're constantly messing with like formulas, and like there was stuff that I saw about changing different glosses and, like different things like that, which is so cool. Like they're constantly innovating, and like they're really, really an industry leader. And on top of that, they're using all of the products themselves, and they're real car people. So they know all different interiors and materials, and it's so cool. Like I really like these guys and gals. But
Yeah, that's super cool. I've obviously known about the brand for years and used the products. And there's a couple like in the sort of detail, like they're like the wheel cleaners. It's all I use is Griots. But I didn't realize that they were still a family-owned company. Like it's pretty rare. I think they've been in business for quite a while now, right?
Yeah, 1990.
Yeah,
and I think
that's great.
like the future is bright for them
I like
because
it more knowing that.
they're the guys who are in charge now. Like the two sons that run both sides of the business are totally dedicated and especially into Radwood, which is awesome because they were there in full force. And it was the largest show they've ever hosted at their headquarters, and we had a really good turnout, great weather. It worked really well for our space, like for the size of the show. We've had, we did it at Dirtfish, and the reason we didn't go back there, for people listening maybe wondering why, the large building that we used and for our indoor display was red tagged due to a storm. So that's basically knocked that venue out for a show like ours. It could still be possible, but probably much more difficult. And then this, it was kind of like the perfect layout, and it was just a really cool scene. So
Yeah, it looked cool from the photos. I was just back to back with Car Week. Like I've wanted to go out and do one of the shows, Austin or
oh really
Tacoma or
to
something.
fly
Yeah.
out.
To see you guys in action, like off site, because I've only done San Mateo in LA. But it was just like the timing was a little hectic with.
Yeah.
I'm sure for you guys too. So it was cool that Lane could make it up there.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The nice thing about Seattle, it's like it's the easiest trip. It's a 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
Like exactly. It's same time zone, same climate. Like all these things make it really, really simple.
Yeah, it's also a great destination. Like I love it up there.
Yeah.
That's also exactly. So you do have.
Although Tacoma's a little dicey.
I haven't been to
is
Tacoma.
nice, yeah.
Actually, I haven't spent any time really on that side of the range.
It's got a little Fresno in it, a little Modesto. I'm not saying California's
also
any
not
better.
Unfamiliar, yeah.
No, exactly. Like I'm not trying to say that we don't have that around here. We totally do. And then Seattle's definitely more of a San Francisco vibe. There's like a ton of graffiti and homeless people, and it gets a little gritty.
So you guys did a Cars and Coffee, not to tangent too hard.
I stopped in
Seattle
there afterwards. Yeah, but it's like I had to run a couple errands, and it's funny with these trips too because I don't know how we would. I think it's impossible actually. These festivals didn't exist before Google Maps. Like, to be
because we're scouting, you mean?
So dynamic. No, just like on the fly, like, hey, I got to run across town and do this thing, and I'll be back. It's like, how would I have done that? Like, I'd have to have a paper map and
you
like
you have the phone book,
the phone book, right?
You would, or
I
the
would
gas
call
station,
them,
right?
Well, I would call them, and they would say, okay, go past the big building and take a right, and then you're going to go past the park and take a left, and it's like I would have to write that down. And like hopefully get there,
it's
right?
such a trip, right? Like
It's
I
crazy.
remember being a kid and like my dad going to the gas station, and you ask where the X is, right? And they were usually the people who would direct you.
And I mean, we were the same. Like we
right
grew
at
up.
the third light, and there's going to be a big dinosaur thing. Or hopefully
We started
some
we started
store.
driving like kind of pre-internet, so it would exist, but not to the level it is now. And so you have to print MapQuest directions.
MapQuest for sure.
And then like write down details of like where you were going, and then look at the map as you're going along. But, I can jump in the rental car now, type in, I'm going to, Home Depot. It takes me exactly there. I don't have to think about it at all, right? But anyways, there's times where that happens and we don't realize that, you're going to like the most ghetto Home Depot
you
could possibly go to. Like
you roll up and you get where you get.
And no one else would go to this one. Like if you ask the local, they're like, you went to that? Like, why? Like how? It's like, well, I didn't know. So there's times where you get into these situations where you're like, oh yeah, this is like, all right, we're in it now. And not this trip so much, like, but like Chicago and Detroit and other experiences. So we travel. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Yeah, it is a thing though. I mean, I just find it fascinating that, I think just doing business in general without the internet is bizarre, right? Like as a concept, but now I think you would have to be way more prepped, right? Like you would have, like we would have to have
100%.
everything fucking dialed. Whereas we lean on the fact that we can go get some more zip ties or duct tape if we need it. Like we don't order that shit in advance.
I mean, there were always hardware stores, guys, and probably in the pre-internet era before
there were more stock.
Yeah, there were like
but it's
probably
it's
an Ace Hardware nearby, or
but it's
something
getting
like that.
to the. Like now there's 15 hardware stores. Before there was 2 and they were only open, for certain hours. I don't know. It's changed a lot. So
maybe like a small addition on that whole navigation thing. Like we're all about the same age, so I'm 35, but I rode motorcycles a lot in my early 20s and would do trips. And I remember having a tank bag on my sport bike with friggin' MapQuest directions shoved in the clear upper pocket of, and you would have to periodically be like, all right, I gotta stop and change the page.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
Or
you try to do it on the fly.
The
and
guys the hardcore guys on the like
they have the rally.
They'll have the little rally thing,
Yeah.
Oh, where you scroll like a
some
scroll
people
kind
actually
of thing.
still use that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I mean, we would make it happen, but it would have just been a lot harder.
Yeah, but good show overall. I mean, great mix of cars as usual. A lot of diversity.
It was
I saw you guys
amazing.
post some of the best of show
winners.
Like, what were the highlights? We talked about the collection, obviously. What are the highlights? From,
well, what's funny is
community?
this is our third show in the market, right, in the region, and a lot of repeat customers. So cars that we had seen before, but it's hard to remember who won an award 3 years ago, right? So you're like, oh man, this GTI. There's a Mark I GTI that's like impeccable. It's white. It's got all the period correct detail.
So cool.
Louvers and the right wheels and all this stuff, and we're like drooling over it, and we're like, that has to win Raddest Import. It's just like so perfect, and there weren't a lot of other GTIs. In fact, like, was there any?
There were a few Jettas, but no GTIs.
Yeah. anyways, it was immaculate, and it was royalty, and it was the owner is like a real person who's built the car and loves it, not like a dealer or someone who just picked up and bring a trailer. Well, that has to win. And then Art looks back at like previous winners, and sure enough, we gave it Raddest Import the first time in PNW. So it was like, shit, that can't win now. Mm-hmm. So then we're back to square one. And then luckily I talked to the owner, and he was like, oh, dude, I'm so glad you didn't give me an award. I would have been really embarrassed. Like, I don't want to win again. And we're like, okay,
by the way,
good.
let's get into this car real quick. So it's a white car with the blue and red striped interior. Callaway bits like cam,
Nice.
Cam cover, period correct new speed intake manifold, exhaust, all the bracing from the period, like suspension, like H&R bits, and he had BBS RSs with the front had the what do you call them? The covers. What are they called?
Turbofans.
Turbofans with the turbofans, which so he found replicas, and then he printed the actual pattern on them, but the same color as the rear BBS RSs, which were exposed, and he had painted the centers white to match the car. So like little details like that, and
nice.
And the car was super nice, but it was driven. It had like into the six figures of miles. I can't remember how much, but like in the car, the guy had it for 30 years or something. So this is like. Quite frankly, we could throw this out there. We considered even doing Radiston show before we knew we gave it an award because it was that good. It's like, dude, this is like such a rad car, right? And but yeah, the winners real quick. So we had for the Radis motorcycle, we had the RG 500 with a Gamma,
which was
cool.
a
Euro spec,
non-US motorcycle,
two-stroke.
It said it had floating suspension and 4 exhausts, which 2 were under the seat and 2 were down low.
Yeah.
Badass
Those
bike.
two-stroke bikes of the era are just
So rad.
Wacky,
And I love
right?
like the
Yeah.
boxiness of,
Yeah.
like that super boxy 80s style.
Yeah.
So that was the Radis motorcycle. Radis Import was a real slant nose 930 flat bow with roof wheels.
Which the
Pretty
guy,
heavy.
the owner had owned it for 30 years, had been he raced it, he had shown it, everything. He had never won an award. He was like blown away.
Oh, great story.
And he said Radwood was his favorite car show he's ever been to.
Yeah,
So,
and he loved the fact that there were Mark I GTIs there too, and Civics and everything else. He loved the diversity, and he actually, when I walked up to him to inform him that we needed him to pull him up for the award ceremony, like he was taking pictures of like people in his car. Like he was like, please enjoy it. Like he was like all about it. Like he was such a rad dude.
are those still like crazy expensive?
Yeah, especially
Because there was a time where they were $1 million. Or maybe that's
the 964s were, which are gross. I don't like the 964 flat.
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the not 930s.
Okay.
I don't think 930s got there. I mean, I remember when maybe not 930s, but certainly naturally aspirated cars were just dirt. Nobody wanted a slant nose. Like
Right,
now it's sort of
right.
desirable.
It's gone full
again.
circle.
Well, I think also they were converted.
Yeah, most of them were
period, and
converted.
so
The
that-
factory ones,
that hurt.
I feel like in the day you could still even probably get a factory car for sort of the money you would get a
Yeah.
G body for now.
Yeah.
Mm,
So, anyways, that's import.
truck was restored.
So,
Toyota-
guy basically like a one family owned 1990 Toyota pickup, white with the blue, checkmark graphics,
extended cab.
perfect interior. And during COVID, he pulled the motor, and then he's like took it apart, and he like realized he didn't need to. The engine was still perfect, 300,000 miles, 315. And then he was like in a body shop, in the body shop world, and he decided during COVID they were slow. Let's restore it. So they painted it. Everything. It was like immaculate, perfect, like showroom condition with 300,000 miles, original engine, all that stuff. So,
But I also I want
his
to mention
truck.
that I love the fact that they didn't over restore it. Like it was like almost like the paint looked like it would have then. Like it wasn't like overly polished or it was if he didn't tell you that, and if you assume that it had 30,000 miles, like you would have believed it. Like
Somebody who runs like a good collision or like regular body shop will sort of have that eye for it too. You find like you take it to a resto shop and it's going to come out like dead smooth, but those guys they match stuff in the real world all the time. So they're like, this thing had a little peel on it from the factory.
it's also like a non-metallic white, which is easier to, it's like refrigerator white. So anyways, it was great ownership history, great family. They were down, like the whole crew came and were hanging out the whole day. So anyways, that was Radis truck. Radis Domestic was a Buick Electra wagon with wood paneling, fake wood inside, rear-facing seats in the back of the wagon, like the ultimate family truckster, basically.
Yeah.
15,000 original miles.
Wow.
The car had never been at a show before, and it was immaculate, like perfect.
Just did like 2 years of road trips with it and parked it or something.
I don't know, or it was like probably at some summer house. I think that's what he said. It was like,
Oh yeah. It
oh
was
no,
like someone's.
no, it was a Boeing engineer's last Buick, and he was a Buick owner his whole life. He bought this was his last car he bought, and then he passed away. And this guy bought it and has been caring for it ever since, but it's like immaculate, perfect, like, yeah, no flaws. So
rad. My friend's parents in middle school had one, and that's what I was driven into school in. Like
Wow.
when I would like do slumber parties and shit, I would
Yeah.
drive. Those are so rad.
Very cool.
Radisson show was an interesting one. It was definitely a car that I don't know if we've ever had before. We've had sedans. So this was an early 80s first gen Accord, but it was a hatchback.
So two-door hatchback.
Two-door hatchback, manual, but it had all of the bits and bobs, all period. It had like the louvers, it had Mugen wheels, real Mugen wheels.
It had the eyelashes, or like the headlight brows.
The eyelets,
It had like rain gutter chrome like strips. It had louvers, good wheels. What wheels were the Mugen wheels?
Mugen wheels, and it had the gradient, the gradient Recaros, the orange ones, that they go from like a brown to an orange.
And it had a spoon steering wheel, I think, and a good shifter. I mean, it looked like Radwood era done up Accord hatchback, which is like that car alone without any of the like goodies is unobtainium.
They just don't exist.
On top of that, he had a Moto Compo in the back, so it was like
Pretty sweet, yeah.
on all levels. And so I came up to him and told him like, "Hey, it looks like you're packing up. We're about to do awards, and you're gonna get one." He's like, "Oh shoot, I have to go to this concert in Vancouver. We're just gonna leave."
Was he driving the car there?
I think so. And I was like, "Oh shoot, well, I don't know if this helps, but you're winning Radisson show." He's like, "Oh my god, what?" And he was super stoked. So his wife was like, "We can stay. It's okay. It's okay." So we got him hooked up. And on the import side of things, Chris Jacobs was there from Overhauling, our buddy now, and he presented Radis Import, and that was fun because he's a Porsche guy.
Cool.
And then he got to talk to the owner, and it was just like a good kind of all came together.
Yeah, and the owner knew who he was too, so he was really excited about that. Like,
Is he local up there?
No, he
he's
just came up to
LA, but
okay.
he told me at Laguna Seca he was going to come up, and then sure enough, he was up there doing some other promotional stuff, and then he's a big fan, so it's fun. Like he was really stoked on it, and
awesome.
yeah. But overall, I mean, got to see some old friends, familiar faces, meet some new people, wouldn't you say?
New faces.
Podcast fans, by the way. Thanks for saying hi.
That's always right.
That's
Dude, I
always
wish
fun.
I'm an idiot. I meant to ask for his name again, because there was one dude who was super excited to meet us. He's been a longtime listener. Drove out from like Eastern Washington, like Spokane or somewhere way out there, just to like basically come to the show to meet Waren and I, or if he didn't know what Lane was there, but
He didn't come for Lane.
And he was like, super stoked, and we were so excited to see that he was so like, what's the word I'm looking for? He was like borderline like starstruck, and we're like, dude, we're just fucking hanging out, man. What's up, dude? We're homies.
I'm not listening to this.
But I mean, it's like, I love that vibe, and he was so rad. I wish that I could have invited him out to dinner with us to hang out. And like the fact that he was so passionate, like, and about like what we do, like that's the coolest thing to see, and he brought out like all of his buddies, and like I think that was his first Radwood. So like, shout out to that guy. That's why I forgot your name, dude. I'm sorry. But yeah, we're on video right now, by the way, Warren. So all of your reactions are being recorded.
I know,
I want to take the time to mention that we do have a dedicated Driving While Awesome channel on YouTube. So please have a look. If you like, there's some cool cars in the background. You have Warren's reactions to my commentary.
Yeah, you'll get to see this space slowly change into
Beeline,
like a different
Beeline
assortment
Motor
of-
Club.
a
you got
different
the prime
assortment
car
cars.
front and center right there.
Oh, yeah. The Shuffle has put the 944 up front. It looks great, like in this shot. Yeah, it's actually. I mean, I like what Lane's done with the front of that car.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it is,
So
it is.
it'll be cool to see. I think like as the as the video podcast progresses, like the space get built out and then cars begin to cycle through.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe like a nice workstation over here with like an engine stand on it. Like pretty
So
soon.
we've got a couple engine stands together now.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we should.
What happened to the big table?
The big table went up on the top of the bathroom, the second
How'd
level.
you get it up there?
Forklift, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah, so your K series, we'll get on one of those stands soon, and then when the oiling system arrives, we'll start swapping the parts out on that to do your
Awesome.
E30.
I'm really excited about that. I can't wait. Yeah, I actually, by the way, what's his name? Mike from like he's no longer with StanceWorks, but Mike Burrows. He's doing like the K24 turbo swap in his Ferrari. He has a set of my favorite wheels ever for sale, but they're too big, dude. He's got center lock Ronal, like not the turbos, but you know how they're like the multi-piece with a magnesium center? Yeah. So he's got center locks, and I'm just like, can I make this work? Like, I don't know. Like, but the problem is that
what's the size?
They're 17s. There's just no way. Like, I mean, all the Group A cars before, like this is pre-DTM E30 M3. The Group A 325i's ran a 17-inch wheel, but they're fucking slammed. You know, they're for race cars.
Yeah.
So like that's just
they're
not
tucked and like on the ground.
They're not. It's not doable. It would look amazing, like you know, but it would make my car unusable for its purpose, right? Like this is my rally car, so
you're not going to fit enough sidewall on a 17.
No, you can't.
It would look terrible too. It would look horrible.
Yeah, it doesn't look right.
But so. You know, it's just it crossed my mind because we were talking about a checklist, right? I'm like, are wheels a thing? And he had those out there, and they're just basically the coolest wheel ever to me. Like those are my favorite wheels of all time. And you know, they're spendy, of course, but you know, I was like, you know, maybe I can.
I haven't looked into center lock conversion kits or availability for these cars either.
I don't know how it works.
Could do like a hub adapter or something.
That's what I thought.
To do like legit parts would be.
Yeah,
pretty extensive.
Yeah,
it would be a cool thing to do that.
And it's a huge pain in the ass too, right? Like, I've seen because Ruben has center locks on his 99.
That giant,
and it's like a
700 pound-feet of torque.
Exactly, it's like this 15-foot long fucking wrench.
I think it is like on the Porsches. It's like
great
780.
You like make a little thing, you hang it on the wall.
You gotta like take it with you though. If anything goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably like for a rally. I think you would probably get like a.
They make one that you can adjust, like it comes apart.
They have like collapsible ones and stuff like that.
Anyways, back to Seattle. What else am I forgetting here? We went to a rad restaurant.
Is there any big standouts that we didn't award that you want to mention?
Good. Yeah, there was a couple. So one was a Volvo 240 in like that butterscotch kind of yellow. Had all the period bits. It was really, really nice. Cool owner. There was also a Consulier
GTP,
Targa or open car.
Yeah.
Barbie Mattel edition. That one was in the running for Raddest domestic and even Raddest and show, but it's pretty rough. And if the owner's listening, I want you to know we appreciate it, but it just needs like a couple tweaks to get it to the next level, because it looked like rather kit car-ish instead of like a presentable as it was in the era car. So, and there's also, it always happens too. There's cars that we love and they'll have like, you know, in Austin, we had a really amazing Mustang and it had modern Mustang wheels on it, or the wrong headlights, or like all modern interior, you know, like the wrong steering wheel, audio, fabric, everything's like modern, right? And it just does not fit the era. So while it's probably the better choice for a lot of those cars to actually use and drive and own, it just doesn't work for an award. So
like the Raddest truck contender that we looked at?
Yeah, it's like Art has a record now. I think there's been like 3 or 4 trucks where he's always like, did you see that truck down there, the orange one? I'm like, I did see that orange truck. And he's like, it's fucking amazing. And I go, you're right, it is amazing. Like, it's perfect. It's restored, fresh paint, but it's like, you know, not modern wheels, but not exact period correct, big knobby tires, modern like Denali interior, flat screen TV, not period correct paint. You know, it's just like it's a resto mod. It's a resto mod, and like I said, it's like probably the better truck to own and drive. But is it rad? Like, it's so close.
like for example, in SoCal last year, we had I can't remember the company that restores or that redoes the Land Cruiser FJ60s. So an FJ60, the round headlight, very boxy body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and they put LSs in them, and they basically singerize them. I mean, they're absolutely
Has
flawless.
like killer interior.
No,
it's
no,
like
no.
Icon, but not.
But it's not Icon, yeah. And I mean, and they also had, the thing had like pop out windows and like all this amazing shit. The interior was absolutely perfect, and the whole thing was like exactly what I would want to own, but it isn't rad. And like, you know, we had a conversation about it. Said this is one of those things, right? Warren's like, yeah, and I'm like, you're right. It's not rad, but
reinterpretation, right?
yeah, but it's so freaking awesome. You know,
It's the
and
one
like,
you would probably want to drive and own and take on an adventure, but it's
But-
not checking all the boxes.
If you fast forward 20 years, do you guys end up just boxing yourselves in and being like these concourse guys who are like, it doesn't have the chalk marks on the rear axle? Or
We'll never get that official. In fact, like, I think it's only been in the last year that people are starting to come up to us and asking us, like, so what is the criteria for winning an award and who judges and stuff? And Art and I look at each other. We're like, it's the whole team that does it. There's a lot of tiebreakers and people vote for it, but it's just us, really. So,
yeah.
although like before it was Lane, it was Rick and Brad would chime in, but we would definitely like try to get a list first and then go around and be like, okay, is this worthy?
I really like the Lotus Esprit Turbo and JPS.
Oh man, that thing was cool.
Black with gold.
It's a classic, yeah. I love those cars.
And so, you know, this is a question that's been asked multiple times over the years, and I always have the same answer. It's like, what car would you love to own, but you never will because you don't want to deal with it? It's one of those.
Yeah,
like I absolutely love them. I think they're awesome looking. They're super rad, and like especially with that BBS Male wheels, the early really deep dish ones. And
but you don't want to deal with fires.
but I don't want to deal with just a car that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Carry a couple fire extinguishers. It's fine.
And a couple of everything, right? Because everything will fail.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Actually, know a guy down in LA who has one, and he's had the motor out in the last few years since he bought it. And I haven't checked up with him, but he's been driving it as often as one can.
Yeah.
And he loves the car. He's a younger dude our age. He's a designer for RTR, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're really cool cars.
There was 2 yellow Volvo 850 T5Rs, or one was an R and a T5R, but one wagon, one sedan. Those were great. The wagon was also a manual transmission, which was very cool. In the sun yellow, or we don't know what the color is called. Pale yellow. There was a 6-door Cadillac Fleetwood. That was cool.
JDM CRX with a fully built turbo B series, which was really well executed.
And then speaking of JDM stuff, there was 2 cars that were at our Dirtfish show, which is the Honda Accord Aero Deck and an Integra GSR black. The mintiest GSR that you will ever find. And it's not a low mileage car. It's just somehow this owner it's just his baby, and it's perfect.
One of these one-owner cars, yeah.
It was perfect. One owner.
Loved for 100,000 miles.
Yeah, it has the window sticker. Everything is perfect.
Yeah.
It smells brand new. It's incredible. So
and really close contender for that Raddest Import Award too.
Really close.
Yeah, that we ended up giving it to the Slant Nose, which I mentioned, right? But it was right up there though, and you know, we talked about it too. It's like as for criteria, right? It's like, you know, the Slant Nose is like a poster child, right? It's like that's the thing, right? Turbo 80s, whatever. But like the Integra for a certain group of people, that's something really special. It's something that they lusted after when they were in high school.
I would say it's almost more special than an R too. Having a GSR in that condition,
right? Because the Type R is, of course, it was going to be.
You're coveting
treasured.
the Type R for sure.
Yeah,
but
I am.
The fact that it's like, I mean, how many of those are out there?
Very few. Especially like this one, because it is absolutely perfect. Like, and it's completely stock too, which you never see. Yeah, and it's an early one too. I think it's a 95.
Never been stolen?
Never been stolen, never been, well, definitely. He can't say never driven in rain. I'm sure it's driven in rain.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect car. And that was at, and then the Aero Deck is a really neat 2-door, so it's a 2-door Accord coupe that has a little shooting brake.
Well, it's a little shooting brake. So
I don't know if I've seen any photos of that car.
I have a picture of it.
It's not like coming to mind.
Yeah,
I'll show it to you. And my favorite thing of probably the entire show, like as I was standing, I think I might have been talking to Lane about this, but Richard Griot, you know, the founder of Griot's Garage, has these, you know, the McLaren F1 cars driven by Senna in period. he spent the most amount of time around that aero deck. He was like super stoked on it. He had never seen one, didn't know it existed. And so he was just like talking to the owner for like a good 15, 20 minutes, just talking about the car. And it was a Dutch car. The guy imported it. He had one in period, kind of found another one. And like, but that's like how hardcore he is as a car guy. He's like nerding out on a freaking cord shooting brake.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Some good skylines there for JDM Art over here. And then...
Yeah, we don't have the skyline in the shot today.
We don't have the skyline in the shot. What about, did you see the, it was an IROC Camaro, like a later one, like a 91 with the, with the body kit convertible with an LT5?
Yeah.
Is that the Lotus engine that was in the ZR1?
I think you're right.
LT5, right?
LT5,
the Lotus quad cam engine?
And it was a convertible, right? And then I parked it so you could see like through that convertible into the garage, which had a Mustang Fox body. And then on the other side was a 944 cab, which is quite rare. And then that was looking into a standard 944.
And the Fox body was like super like subtly like subtle modified but super built, like you wouldn't have noticed.
Coyote motor.
You have to go Coyote motor. You look underneath everything, full on resto mod, but like subtle and very, very heavy tint, so you couldn't tell that it had a half cage in it, which I really appreciated. And then my favorite car outside of that, though, like that I kept going back to, and I talked to the owner for a long time, was the raddest domestic winner last time, which was the Celine Fox body. It was in that gray with the gradient graphic with the Ronal 5 spokes. Like, I mean, I keep coming back to these fucking cars. Everybody tells me that I would hate to own one because they're so shitty, but they're so fucking rad.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're just in love with the aesthetic. So it's a car that would scratch that itch. You sit in the garage, you look at it, put it up on the lift. I don't
Although we both drove, Griot's had a Bob Bondurant, I guess it would have been like a student car at their race school. And it was a Ford Crown Victoria manual transmission with like a hot rod V8. I don't know what was under the hood, but so it had like it was always like a NASCAR, kind of like light. Yeah. And we had to park it and move it around and stuff. And I don't know. I've driven some Fox bodies, and they're kind of fun in a rowdy, weird way.
Totally.
Yeah. You forgive their flaws pretty
right, because it's not. It's just it's not a precise like instrument.
It's never
right?
going to be.
It's this like sledgehammer of
Although
a thing.
I haven't driven one that's completely dialed.
No,
like
I haven't
the
either.
full Maximum Motorsports or whoever's doing the K members and the suspension revamps.
I'm trying to remember what car I was shopping for. I think when I was shopping for an NSX, which I ended up buying at the time, I looked at a Cobra in that teal in the East Bay, and it was Maximum Motorsports everything. And the guy was just a terrible seller. Like, he was like, "You have to come here. I'm not going to answer any of your questions." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm freaking super busy. I just can you tell me this, and this, And he just refused to answer. And I remember the car sat for a while, and then eventually it faded away. I don't know if he actually sold it, but at the time it was already like It was like maybe like 30-ish, like before they got super crazy. Yeah. It was a really nice car, and that's as close as I got to actually buying one, but I would love a 4i Saline, like just as you said, maybe just to look at, because I'll probably be annoyed that it's a sloppy mess, but they're so freaking cool looking.
Certainly, as they came out of the factory, like probably tons of on-center play and vague handling, but like I've seen people autocross the later cars, the SN97s or whatever, and I know that definitely people are out there running, motorsports events in these platforms, and you're going to see that more and more. I mean, vintage racing in another 10, 20 years is going to be full of Fox bodies. And so there's a solution, I think, but it's likely a long road of like buying the car and completely redoing the whole chassis to get it to where it could be like a sweet rally car that you would enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a goal. I don't know. I think those kind of projects are fun. Like, it's just about whether you're... there's a long list of things maybe you would do before that.
Yeah. Is it also strange that I feel like I would be a Mustang guy? Like,
it's just like going to like getting a CRX or whatever. You're joining an ownership group. I know. Definitely a lifestyle.
Yeah. It's like, and it's a trip. Yeah. Because
I don't know. Isn't E30 sort of in a way?
A little bit, but no, not nearly as the same.
There's a whole chunk of E30 culture that does very different things with the cars than you do.
Absolutely.
Into it,
but I just don't think that there's overlap in our user case is very overlappy.
Overlappy. It's not very Venn diagrammy, is what you're
Not
saying?
Venn diagrammy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people who are driving Salients are like, I'm going to go out and tear up the canyon roads, you know?
That's what I would want to do. Yeah, but like,
It's not as many.
yeah. I mean, it's. Oh, you mean you're saying like who's actually actively doing that? I think you'd be. I would have to kind of tag along with the track people, like the guys that actually go track their Fox bodies. Maybe that's sort of maybe more overlap with what I'm into.
Yeah.
Versus like, because I mean, a lot of them are drag raced or like they do the highway shit, or they're just shown. Like, you know, they're all pristine and like pretty, and then there's like the fucking takeover. You know,
kind of the same
donut
can be
culture.
said for like a CRX too. A lot of that's, you know, a lot of those cars are street racing cars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
that is true. Yeah.
So the good news is that the show went really well. They really want us to come back, and I think we're going to. So
Great.
if you're listening to this, watching this, and you had a good time at
Catch you
Pacific
next time.
Northwest, we'll be there 1 year from now, roughly. So
And please do say what's up.
yeah, see what's up. Let us know if you came and had a good time.
So I know you guys maybe don't love to pick favorites, but it sounds like this is high on the list
For
of shows that you've done.
like as far as
last-
like running a show and going to a show and being there, this was great. It was not hot. It was not windy.
Good
It's
support.
not far away. We had good support. We had great cars. We need more food, as always. The food vendor did not live up to their promises, but that always happens.
Yeah, it's so often the case,
But
right?
past that, like, it was great. As far as like, you know, did it have the most cars? No. Did it, you know, was I don't know, like the best in show winners, like as radical as you might expect, like maybe not, but I think it fit the region perfectly. It was like, it hit everything as we would want. So yeah, it was great. It was really great.
Yeah.
But,
Especially for a first time at a venue. Like, it's like, yeah, it works really well, you know, this is nitty gritty operational shit, but it's like good flow, good gate, good all that kind of stuff, which makes our life
I mean,
a lot
it sounds
easier.
like the optimal kind of venue, like a place that displays cars routinely with a staff of folks that
Absolutely.
do, you know,
Yeah, and I
show
think-
car things.
yeah. And we have a few ideas to maximize it, make it even bigger and better. So
Yeah. I'll put it on
stay
the list.
tuned. Stay
Yeah.
tuned for that. Next up is Detroit. We'll be at Detroit in a matter of weeks. Wait, when is that?
September 19th or 17th.
What's the date today?
Yeah, I think guys said
30th.
it's 2 weekends from now.
2
Yeah.
weeks. 2 weeks from now, Detroit Concours. We'll be there at the Cars and Community on Saturday at Detroit Tigers Stadium, along with some other car clubs and such. So come out, see some rad cars, have a good time.
Yeah, we have a little bit of room still too. This is an 80-ish car display. It's a curated display, so feel free to apply right now.
It's pretty tight.
Yeah, apply.
But, apply.
Apply.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of applicants already, but you know, they're lagging.
And then
so-
come see us at Mom's Spaghetti that night, across the street from our display. Do you know there's a restaurant in Detroit called Mom's
Sounds
Spaghetti?
great. I want to be there.
I think it's basically they just made a restaurant off of.
Well, no, it's
M&M's.
owned by M&M.
Oh, it's M&M's restaurant.
Yeah, it's M&M's restaurant.
That's so weird. That is really weird.
I'm
Anyways,
sure that's a cool. You guys have done shows in Detroit.
we did
before,
one show in
just
Detroit,
one.
and it was awesome. Big
It's
show.
A cool culture that I have not had much exposure
Big
to.
time.
Like right
And
there
some-
in the Motor City. you
Yeah,
know.
and some weird stuff comes out that you wouldn't expect.
a
And
lot of car designers, I imagine, as well.
oh yeah, big time.
Definitely.
A lot of industry folks.
Absolutely.
So
a lot of that.
this will
And
be
then
the same.
and a lot of interest. I mean, you know, you would expect a lot of domestics. You do get that. But what you end up getting is a lot of variety, a lot of JDM, a lot of everything. But the domestics that you get out there are like stuff that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah, or you haven't seen one
like
ever.
a Citation CX-11 or whatever the hell that thing's called. Or, you know, like just weird.
Or how about just like weird K car, like cop cars and stuff that you did like driver's training in that
Right.
are perfect. And someone took the time to keep a Dodge, you know, whatever, Reliant
Diplomat.
or Diplomat or
Yeah. That's
what it is?
it's yeah. There's some stuff
Yeah.
like that. We actually we had last time we were there as you know, as a standalone event. We had Dodge as our title was it Dodge or FCA? Yeah, we had Dodge as our title sponsor,
Yeah.
and they chose an award and they gave it to a Dodge Omni, not a GLHS, just a standard base Omni that was preserved, but it was like on period HREs with suspension, and I'm like, dude, we like the cut of their jib. You know, they totally get it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was a really cool car. But you find stuff like that, you know, just things that you never see out here. But I love seeing that kind of stuff.
And then we'll be at the Concours, which is at the Detroit Institute of Arts. Is that what it is? DIA. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Sure.
Anyways, it's like a cool college, kind of downtown with fountains and stuff. So it's all. It's gonna be interesting. The team that's running it has their work cut out for them because the footprint is really small, and they're trying to fit a whole Concours on it. So
First time they've done the event there.
yeah, the show's been there. It was called Concours of the Americas, or Concours.
Yeah, Concours of the Americas.
With an S,
I'm pretty sure, right?
or just America
Concours of the America. Just that sounds
of America.
Concours of America.
Hey,
Got it.
did it. But it wasn't at this venue. So they changed the name, changed the venue. We'll see what happens. But we'll be there. And then tickets are going on sale soon for LA and for Atlanta. Can we say that?
Yeah, let's say it.
Just said it. It's
There's some
happening.
big stuff happening
So
there.
now it's gotta happen.
November,
Nice.
early November.
Yeah, but it's coming up. And then what else was I going to say? Oh, just piggybacking on the Seattle talk. So the show went great. We went to dinner and all that stuff. The next day, our buddy Will, Dusty Snowman, who you may know from the podcast and such, he came down and went to Radwood from Orcas Island, and he was going to Seattle Cars and Coffee. And I was like, I'm probably not going to make it. I'm not going to get up early and go. But I did get up early, and I was like, I had two options. I could either watch the F1 race, like press play on the replay and sit in my hotel room and watch that like a, sad bastard, or jump in the Kia Soul and shoot up to Seattle. And I just kind of it was one of those decisions where I'm like sitting there getting up. I'm like, what should I do? Should I do this then? Let's go to Seattle. And I just jumped in the car and did it. And I pull up and I see Will like pulling into this space, and it's downtown. It'd be like having it on like Market Street in San Francisco or something. And there's this cool little, it's like a street that they have stanchions or like posts that they put in place at certain times of the day. And in the morning it's open, but I think at night or something, they close it off. So it's only for bikes and pedestrians, but it's this awesome brick street with like round.
Yeah, it's like
curbs.
curbs. So cool. I know this spot in my head.
Oh, you
we've
do?
been to Seattle a few times with my wife, and we always do the cutesy.
And it's got big trees and the old buildings and like the hanging flowers.
Such a cool area.
Amazing.
Of town.
Beautiful.
And, looked like just an awesome venue for it.
It looked like a Porsche show to me.
It did. And so I got there at 8:30 thinking it would be packed, and I'm like worried, where am I going to park? And he's like, I don't know. I'm just going to get there and I'll tell you how it goes. And he texts me as I'm parking. He's like, I'm the only one here. I'm like, okay.
At 8:30.
At 8:30. I'm like, well, this is a different Cars and Coffee vibe. But there was a Duetto there already. And then, Will's 993. And then, G-Body pulled up and a 964. And it was like 95%
a bunch of
Porsches. And there was like an Evora and something else, but basically all Porsches besides the Alpha.
Some great roads to drive, obviously, in the
Incredible
metro
roads.
area.
Yeah, incredible roads.
I don't recall. I've done a driving trip through the Cascades that would be an awesome rally, but I don't recall how long you have to drive outside of the city to really get to the good stuff.
It's kind of LA style where you drive for like an hour and then you hit like great roads.
By the way, we've talked about that ad nauseum for years.
Yeah.
And there are angles for sure. Yeah, all the way down to Oregon.
I rented I think a 2016 or something like that, 328 manual, and did like 1,200 miles through the Cascades on a hiking trip with Sarah. And some of those roads were just definitely on the level of the stuff that we do.
Oh, for sure.
Here.
Yeah. It sounds great. And then, so I basically got a cup of coffee, said hi to some people that were fans of Radwood and into the scene. And then I had to get back to the airport. Will had to get to a ferry. And I'm kind of stressed out getting to the airport because I have to do the rental car and the shuttle and security and all that stuff. And for whatever reason, I was going to mention this. We get on our way to the rental car, and when we landed, we get on the shuttle, and we're sitting there, and the driver of the shuttle gets up, turns around, and goes, "Hello, my name's Greg, and welcome to Seattle. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're back home, welcome home. We're gonna do a 5-6 minute drive to the rental car facility. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride." And he gets back in the seat and takes off. And Art and I look at each other like, "What the fuck was that?" Same thing on the way to the airport.
Oh shit! Really, same guy?
It's a different guy. Different guy. Hey, my name's Jake. We're gonna have a 5-minute ride. It's 72 degrees. Just sit back and relax, and we'll tell you when to get off.
Let me know if you need anything. Yeah, we have crackers in the back.
Literally shuttled to get just get me
down
to
the street. Yeah,
I
That's crazy.
I kind of appreciate it, but
entertaining.
Yeah. And then the TSA pre-check line it took 20 minutes.
It was beefy.
It was beefy.
It was
How
long
was
for me
yours?
too. It was long.
It was about 20 minutes, but someone said, "Oh, well, you should have seen the regular line. It's like an hour."
Yeah,
Holy
it was,
cow.
but it was moving the entire time. It was just super long. The TSA pre-check line.
It moved pretty quick. 20 minutes wasn't too bad, but I'm glad I wasn't a little later. I was a little stressed. There was some flooring of the Kia Soul going on.
I mean, it's
you're
basically
just
a race
flat
car.
for like 70% of your time
Totally.
to the airport.
Yeah, it's basically
If
a
they
race
pulled
car.
the date off the ECU, it'd look
Oh,
like you were doing a
dude.
track
It's a hot
day.
hatch, right?
Yeah, I didn't get the DME report or whatever.
The insurance, like
over revs?
Over revs.
Yeah.
Let's do some questions, shall we?
I was going to ask you, how was your coffee? Because Seattle's renowned for their coffee.
So this was a place called Umbria Cafe, and I got a lavender latte, and it was amazing.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
Sarah, that's one of her drinks of
Oh,
choice. Yeah.
it was one of those like, total just. I saw it on the menu and ordered the last second. I would never usually order that. I just saw it and I went,
it's an interesting
I'll take that.
drink order.
And the barista was quite fabulous. And I got a little bacon muffin scone thing, and it was great.
Sounds delightful.
Yeah.
I like Seattle.
Fabulous.
Good food, good coffee.
Fabulous.
Glamorous?
Like, did you get like a little, what do you call the little design on top?
Oh, a little latte art. And
You're the
Latte
one
art?
Yeah.
who worked at Starbucks.
We didn't do latte art at Starbucks. Yeah, it just came out however it came out.
It's a 964 there.
The best you would do is just you could ask if you wanted poured on top or the bottom, and that was about it.
Got it. I cannot organize the questions, if you're wondering.
Oh, okay.
There's
cool.
no organization today.
Okay.
Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. I'll start at the top. Eamon Shaw asks, thoughts on Oil Stain Labs half 11 prototype. So if you haven't seen this is a wild bare metal half 911, half speedster. I don't know what you would call it.
It's a tube frame chassis with, I believe, a 911, some portion of a 911 front clip.
Yeah, it's a 60s drivetrain. I know. I don't remember from what year, but I know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got an LS in it. It's definitely a V8.
No. It's an air cooled engine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The early car was a V8.
Are you mixing it up with Scarborough Performance?
No.
Wait a minute. I thought it was an air cooled 911.
I'll if somebody wants to pull it up, I'm pretty confident that
because I know that they're
initially
talking about
conceived with a V8.
they're
So
talking
your
about
thoughts are that
offering
it's
a V8.
a V8. Is that your thoughts on it?
Yes.
That's a question.
Oh, the question, yeah. Well, my thoughts on it are that it's a cool thing to see out there, right? I mean, I love that. It's kind of like that. I always called him Runge, but it's a Christopher Runge.
Yes.
Runge.
So the
Kinda gives me that
guy who
vibe.
did that sheet metal, he's on Instagram, Flying Dutchman Co. And he is just a metal shaper down in Southern California that they worked with.
Oh, okay.
The Oil Stain Labs guys are designers who work somewhere, and I know they've been at it on the car for a couple of years. I think it's pretty impressive from a design standpoint. I think Croc was driving with them while in Monterey, and the car got taken out by one of those yellow little cat eyes on the road that I guess they'd maybe put a bunch down, and they said in a post that a bunch of them had like been delaminating off the road, and one of them went through the radiator.
Oh shit.
And so they had to repair it. Was the car at the Quail? Because I was only at the Quail for like 2 hours, and it was I missed some stuff.
It was definitely the Quail, and it is
It's been
definitely a
around.
V8. Yeah, this one is a V8.
Nice. Okay.
So
cool,
if you go to their
cool.
website,
I think it's rad, and
Yeah,
I don't know what their game plan is. I thought it was definitely just like they've been very clever with their pictures of the car and like posing in 60s races and like in barn finds and stuff like that. I've been enjoying the project, but I don't know if they're going to plan to take it to market as a.
They said that they want to. Yeah. So if you go to the website, they say they can build you one, and it will be offered with multiple drivetrains, including a V8 apparently, but they could do an air-cooled 911, and I think last time I checked, they were even offering an EV drivetrain. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it will. I've seen so that guy who's a very cool follow. He also has a large format 3D printer, and he's printed a roof for the car.
Oh, cool.
And so I think they're going to shape it to make it a coupe variant as well.
Think how sci-fi that sounds. He's printed a roof for the car.
Pretty awesome. So the things you can do with the large
amazing.
format printers now, like you can either print directly the panels, which they're doing a lot in drift apparently. To take a car and put extreme width and steering angle on it. They print these fenders now, and the canards and aero.
Yeah.
But you can either print directly or you can make a buck that you then use as your reference template for
Print
shaping.
the buck.
Yeah.
Print
so
the
it's a
buck.
cool combination.
That's
of
a
old
really good
world
book
and
title.
Modern.
Print the buck.
Uncle Buck.
Print the buck.
Yeah.
But yeah, in conclusion, I think we all agree that it's a cool thing to see out there.
It's cool.
We love to see this kind of shit now.
Exactly.
I like the really wide meats from the back end. It's really cool.
In the same way that we love a Honda powered Ferrari, it's just cool to see people out there getting creative with the classic form.
The dudes that run Oil Stain Lab are really cool too. So Nikita and his brother they're twins, and they're both designers, art center dudes. And we did a thing with them during COVID, virtual Radwood stuff. We actually did and it was an Instagram live. I talked to Nikita about the what was that brand called? They did that Alpha Safari rally thing.
Oh yes.
Spacing on it. I had it a second ago, but
Aether.
Ether.
Yeah, Ether.
I think it was Ether. It's like this high-end,
Yep.
high-end outdoor brand apparel company. Like basically
Kind of the worst clothes you could ever imagine.
think Patagucci, but like really, really
it was
crazy
like
fashionable.
Gucci.
It was like Patagucci, Patek Philippe,
And
but
then-
really, really high-end.
That car, if I recall, had like the wheels carried in the rear.
They did, yeah. And so basically the whole thing was like not even really like it was focused on the car itself. Like we talked about the Ether brand a little bit, but it was focused on the build, and like it was super functional. Like it was actually really well made and really well thought out. Like it was insulated, and like, you think because they cut into the back to basically house the wheels as you're describing, like you would do in an old, or not even an old, like I guess a Dakar rally car or something, right?
Yeah.
And then so it was insulated, had functioning air conditioning, like everything was. It was actually like a very functional, like well built thing, well designed. The suspension was totally one off, like bespoke, like long travel suspension on it and stuff. So those guys are cool, and they work for OEMs too. Nikita works for like he contracts with like the performance, like the Ford Performance brand, I think, and a bunch of manufacturers.
Okay.
Like they know what they're doing.
SV Expert asks, do your families listen to your podcasts?
No.
Although my neighbors do, which, what up, Manny? What up, what up, Dre? We just met a lady in PNW that said she's going to listen to the podcast.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Do you make your wife suffer through podcasts?
No, on the occasion that I'm a guest, she does not listen. So
Only when you're a guest.
She
So-
does not listen.
Yeah.
does not listen.
She would listen if
she
you're
doesn't
not on.
listen any other
No,
time.
she
either.
listens all the
She listens
time.
to other
Just
podcasts,
when you're a
but
guest,
not this one.
Like, fuck
and
that one.
Whether I'm on it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my cousins in Mexico listens on occasion. I know that, but that's probably the extent
What
of
up,
it.
cuz?
Does he listen to the Spanish version?
Yeah.
It's an SAP.
We're gonna do that one after this one, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. No, we're gonna have our editor dub it.
Dub it out.
Yeah.
Croc GT4 asks, what are the odds Hagerty will take over production of Concours on the Avenue in 23? It's a very good question.
Trying to speak it into existence, I think.
Yeah, I can't say that I've heard anything specifically, but I know that there are people approaching them all the time with events, and that seems like a pretty easy one to both buy and run, but I don't know anything more. There was an event, though. We were there on Thursday, and there was a female Concours on the Avenue. What was that? Were you there?
Yeah.
At Legends? Yeah. Wait, no.
I wasn't at Legends, but I was hanging with you guys after.
You came after.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so it looked like there was already like another show that took its place, sort of, but I don't know if that's true.
I wasn't there. Yeah, but yeah, you guys mentioned that one side of the street was like it had like maybe like the lower end had a display.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some other big talks of events, so we'll see what happens. don't know.
And congrats to Croc on his new pad.
Yeah, I can't wait to see
So
it.
you just moved in
Oh,
Invite us
yeah,
over
let's
for
see
the
it.
barbecue.
after the search to find a place where he could house his GT4.
Yeah, it looks very cool. Auto Kennel says, Coastal Range Rally news yet? Like, save the date? Well, you obviously haven't been listening, Paul. December 2nd through the 4th, I think it is, or is it 3rd through the 5th?
3rd to the 5th.
December, early December, mark your calendars, 3rd through the 5th. That's all I can say right now, but more news coming very soon. Got to think about some other stuff with that. Bobby Reed with the Cars says, we actually answer this, Bobby, so maybe you haven't seen it come out yet with our delay in these recordings, but what's an interesting fact about you that DW listeners probably don't know? So stay tuned. It's coming. Porsche Silver Spring says, do you remember we answered that?
We did, yeah, but what was the... I'm sorry, I was spacing out. What was the question? Was
You
it the
guys
same
answered that
question
one in the
again?
last show.
It
He was
what's-
asking the same question again.
Yeah, he was answering.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just telling. Anyways.
How about we can do Nick?
Oh, yeah.
He
Nick.
wasn't on when we're...
What's an interesting fact about you that our listeners probably don't know?
I recently started commuting by e-bike.
Oh,
They probably don't know that.
They
What-
don't know that,
is
but it's
it that-
hiding. It's hiding back there.
you borrowed lanes?
No, I bought that
Oh,
thing.
you bought
I
one.
bought a Zeus, yeah.
Oh.
And it's been pretty rad. It's
That makes
really
sense.
changed the game. I was recently commuting in the F250, which is slightly less practical.
Technically the exact opposite.
So the F250 weighs 6,400 pounds. This weighs 64 pounds. And
And does this have those slick tires?
it does,
Yeah.
yeah, which apparently have been discontinued in this size. So I think I'm going to stock up on the 24.
Or you just
I see.
switch to a
Maxxis.
different size. Get Volk T37s.
Yeah.
They look good on everything.
That's a good one. Porsche Silver Spring says, thank you for the stickers, Lane, because Lane's hooked him up. I think it put us over the top. Hope you guys like the finished product. So he, Porsche of Silver Spring, restored a Porsche 968 for some sort of Porsche restoration challenge, where I believe the dealerships are judged on their restorations.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And their 968,
All over the country.
Yeah, their
Are
968
these, I
had
would assume like Porsche historic parts dealers and service centers.
Not necessarily
maybe
Porsche
like-
Classic. Yeah, like I
Porsche
think it's just
Classic,
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's just all Porsche dealers that entered, and they had different classes and all sorts of stuff.
But yeah, nice white 968, and they
Yeah,
had a
nice.
Cannondale on the roof. I believe it was period correct. So, and it had a DWA sticker in the corner of the window. So, hell yeah! And they're going to the Porsche Loves People Get Together Hangout with Porsche People event at Indianapolis
Sports Car Together Fest.
Sports Car Together,
Together
Fest.
Yeah. So we're not going to be there. I think he had asked last week and we
Yeah.
didn't answer. So it's going to be
I-
our extended team. The Hagerty team is going
I
to be
DM'd
handling
him.
it.
In fact, Logan's going, so we should tell Logan
yeah,
to
Logan's
go
gonna
give
be
him a high five.
For sure. Logan should definitely give him a high five. And it's basically a Porsche run event at Indy. There's going to be on-track activities, and we're going to have a small curated display there of about 8 cars.
It's just a Together Fest.
It's
We don't
just a
want to
Together
make it.
Fest.
Just getting together.
Yeah, just Radwood era Porsche stuff. Really cool stuff, actually. Go check it out. And then one of them is going to be 911 that you can sit in, a G-body, and be drawn inside of. So like a caricature.
Have you
But-
in the car?
And you have to be
caricature, if
You have to
will.
Caricature.
be how nude do you have to be?
As nude as you want.
Well,
Okay.
they'll just draw you however nude you like.
Like the French
yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's good. Ben Roget was asking, what's the worst automotive mistake you've ever made?
Mistake.
Mine is buying this M3.
Well, Warren and I are sort of in a similar place. Many would say buying that 996 is the worst that I've done.
Well, it's funny. For you, it wasn't buying it that was the mistake.
It was driving it.
It was driving
It was the
it.
driving.
It was not doing anything to it after you bought it.
In my defense, although I was foolish, it was a very small amount of miles. It's a couple hundred miles.
It was insanely small amount.
But-
That is
And
absolutely.
by not doing anything, you mean
I should have
changing-
taken it immediately to Sean because I still don't have this place set up. I'd planned to do it all
You
myself.
should have dropped it off and got the
Should
IMS
have dropped
down.
it off as soon as I. bought
But
the
no,
car
man, after a
directly.
certain mileage, it's fine.
Nah, it was definitely like on the list. I was just like, oh, I'll like do a couple runs up Bonnie. Maybe I put 300 miles on it, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, probably just like when you're young, you're modifying things that probably should just be left alone.
Right. Right.
Generally making them worse. Try to specifics.
Yeah.
Does anything jump out for you?
Well, this is probably it. I mean, I'm usually have a pretty good track record of buying cars, buy low, sell high, you know.
Yeah. At least after you do this sort of car guy math where you fudge some stuff.
But I mean, yeah, automotive mistake.
And so it's
kind of
so automotive mistake because you paid a price and you did not have it smogged. That's kind of what it boils down to, right?
Yeah.
And so now you own all of that burden of having to deal with that in California, which is a huge pain in the ass. And
then parts not being readily available and not factoring that in. So it's not a car that I would have bought having known any of that. So, but you know, I think it's going to be fine. I just have to have actual time to deal with it and actually fix it. But you know, that's how it goes. What about you?
I've talked about it years ago, but I bought Mark 1 diesel Golf and Rabbit, not Golf, Rabbit. And it was the slowest car I've ever driven. And it was so slow that I fucking hated it. Like immediately, but in my mind, I was thinking, you know, this is college. I'm like, you know, I bought it for super cheap. I'll buy it. I'll own it for a few months and put a 16 valve in it or something, you know. And speaking of smog, ties right into this. In California, bit of a loophole. Everybody knows this. If it is a diesel, it doesn't have to be smogged of that era.
All the way up to late 90s, I think.
Late 90s. And so, you know, you can do whatever the hell you want, basically. And so I thought I was going to do that. Of course, I was basically so frustrated with the car that I sold it the next day. And I bought it for $500 at the time. It was actually a pretty nice car. I bought it for $800 or $500 over the hill. And I sold it the next day for, I can't remember, like $1,200 or something, like basically just to offload it. And I sold it to some, it was a science teacher or professor actually at UCSC.
So this was a mistake because you should have kept the car?
Well, no, because I should have
bought
just
the car?
not bought it, period. I was like so incredibly frustrated. I should have gone and test drove it and then like not, but luckily I actually made some money on it and it worked out. But like, you know, it was a car that was apparently in demand. I had a lot of interest in it as soon as I listed it, but it was one of these Craigslist buys where it popped up and I literally bought it within like hours of it being listed. Like I was right there.
I think we need a story with more pain, Art.
Not enough pain. I mean,
so you're like, it was terrible. I bought this car. Next day I sold it and made money.
Yeah. It was just kind of like
I didn't enjoy it.
It was a mistake,
Where does
but
the
I made
Buick
money
Regal
off of
fit
it.
into this?
Buick Regal was given to me. So
Car number 0.
Yeah, car number 0 was given to me,
Was
and
the
I had
mistake
it.
not admitting that you owned it?
No, it was. You know, this is how the sausage is made. You know, certain things you don't disclose initially, and then you bring them up later when you don't have to, just for the sake of entertainment.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something that was like super painful and shitty, but like,
How about like any modifications you made to certain cars that you're like, wow, why did I do that? Why did I sell the CRX for $1,500 when I could have, kept that one, or I don't know. Maybe I think you have such like ADD when it comes to cars that you don't ever think back on like, yeah, I should have kept it. I shouldn't have modified it. It's like whatever, it's gone.
Just looking forward.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I mean you really just have to blow. You have to blow a motor in something or buy something.
Oh
that's,
yeah.
gross
Well, I
pollutes
mean,
and then-
I mean
You
that's
can't use.
that is. Did we say automotive mistakes or what do you
Yeah.
call it? Mistakes. So I had one of my favorite cars that I had was a car that and it was a favorite because it was extremely rare. I had a Boston green, Warren's favorite color, black interior 95 36 M3. And they made very, very few of those. Almost all of them had tan interior or like a dove interior, which is not my favorite. And so a black interior 95 Boston green car is like insanely rare. So I bought that.
coupe.
Coupe. 95 was coupe only. And so I had that for about a year, and I was really tired. One day after work, I had like basically, it was like a distributor conference, and like I was fucking exhausted, and I was driving
I
home.
was picturing automotive distributor.
We got together. We took apart the distributor. Talked about it.
I mean, I was at
conference.
the tech company I worked for. We had a conference for all of our distributors near San
Gotcha.
Francisco,
That's
right?
okay. We got it.
So, but it was near San Francisco, so I was close to home. That's why I wasn't overseas. And I drove home like at 11 p.m. after like sleeping like 4 hours, and I I was literally merging onto the fucking freeway, and I redlined first, redlined second, redlined third, went to fourth, like just because I like to rev the engine out, went to fourth,
Trying to break it.
went to
Just 'cause I'm a
second,
BMW driver.
went to second, and like literally instantly fucking grenaded the motor.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about. That's a mistake.
So went to second, and as soon as I saw the revs go up, I put the clutch in, but I basically banged off the rev limiter, and the car was like running like absolute shit. Like it still ran, but it was like lumpy, and I'm like, okay, definitely something's wrong. And I pulled over, and I bent valves basically. Long story short.
Yeah, sure. Over rev.
So that was over rev. Is
thank you for that.
Definitely the gnarliest thing I've done to a car. I've never blown a motor otherwise. Like never actually no, I've blown a head gasket once. Or twice maybe. But that was like kind of like random. We're just sitting idling in traffic. This was like me redlining gears and like just being sloppy as shit. That's what happened there.
I thought I could add a question in as a listener.
Yeah.
Least reliable car that you've owned, sort of, and most inconvenient like car breakdown experience, maybe, like, which is often tied to the shittiest car that you've owned because it just keeps betraying you.
I've answered we had a similar question years ago, and I remember because at the time I was still living in San Francisco, and it was one of my call-in shows, and I remember where I was when I talked about it, and it was one of my A86s. It was the first one I had, and I bought a radiator off of a friend, and the radiator cracked. The top of the radiator cracked as I was coming up 92 for the locals here towards Skyline. And basically, the car was overheating. It was pinned to the red. I got to the top. I turned the car off, and I coasted all the way down to 280. Like basically, like with the car off. People on my ass, honking, super pissed. I was off as far as I could go to the shoulder, but as you guys know, there's no fucking shoulder all the way down from the top of the fucking mountain all the way down to 280, the highway. So that was extremely frustrating. I had no power steering, and I managed to get to the bottom there and pull into that gravel lot, and had a lot of very angry people behind me, and basically getting the car home was a huge ordeal. I don't even remember how I got home, but it was a huge pain in the ass. That's probably the gnarliest one.
Unreliable car for me was 99 Volvo V70R.
Ah.
And it had a electronic throttle body by Magnetti Morelli, which were prone
Morelli
to...
will get you.
Yeah, they were prone to going in limp home mode if they had any carbon buildup on the flap. And so there was a workaround. There was like some TSB, but my car was out of warranty and stuff. And then they would sell you a new throttle body for like $3,000. They went down in price over time.
Was it throttle by wire?
Yeah. And they went down in price, and then they eventually had like a reman program that you could send them in and get them cleaned and stuff. But at the time, I was like completely screwed. And so one time I went to a party in San Francisco, and the next morning I got up and we were driving home super hungover, and I had a girl in the car that I knew but not that well, and two friends in the back seat, and we were driving all the way to San Francisco, or to Santa Cruz. And it was kind of near your old house, actually, like upper like Castro area. And as we're driving down the hill, it goes full limp home mode, but I don't tell anybody, you know? So I'm like, holy crap. And so somehow it kicks back on. I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. And the entire time I'm like basically puckered, like watching, you know, any indication, you know, like you go over a bump, you're like, what was that? And we made it, thank God. But it was what would happen is it would allow you to go full throttle, and it would only go to about 15 miles an hour. And so, I after that, I didn't trust the car, and I ended up buying a different car, the E30 actually. And then I parked that thing, and it just sat for like months. And then it needed an alternator and brakes and all this other stuff. And I just did the basic work, sold it to a friend of mine, got out of it. But that was like, that car was
Did those cars have like a whole Morelli like control unit, or was it engine management by Morelli?
I think it might have.
It was a weird partnership.
I didn't mess with that car too much. In fact, I bought it at a dealership in LA, like sight unseen, and it had definitely been in an accident, but I wasn't knowledgeable enough to really know to what level. But like the back, the right rear part of the rear bench would rattle at speed, and you're like, that's not supposed to do that. And had some other like funky little like overspray and stuff. And as I'm older, I know now, but I was 22 or something, and it was like my first real like nice car, all that stuff. So
yeah, then I think one of the more stressful breakdowns or car issues I've ever experienced was not when I was driving. I must have been like 13, and my dad had a Ford Courier that he really liked. At the time, he also had a hard body, but he liked his little Courier. It was a round headlight one, an early one. And we drove it to LA to visit family. I don't remember why we took that specific truck, but the clutch failed, and so it was stuck in fourth gear. And we had to go through LA traffic in fourth gear and get all the way to my uncle's house like in South LA, basically, in the worst, basically, condition. So, like, this is a car with practically no torque and power.
How did
it was really, really, really slow and really stressful, and a lot of yelling at us, and like basically, literally people yelling up or driving up to us and fucking screaming at us because we're in the way.
You're going so slow.
And then at the last exit, I remember the exit we took to get to basically to my uncle's house. We were driving around traffic on the shoulder because my dad didn't want to stop, and it pissed so many people off. Like that was gnarly, dude.
I feel like you could probably jam it into third and maybe get it down into second, but you're definitely not stopping that thing very easily.
It was stuck in fourth. Yeah, he couldn't get it out of fourth. Yeah, it was gnarly.
I'm saying if no clutch and the shifter worked, maybe you could
it was seized in fourth. Yeah.
When you said hard body, this reminded me of just Seattle, Tacoma area in general, that other than Northern California and the Bay Area, it is by far the most Radwood stuff on the street and around by far. Everywhere I went, it's Radwood era is totally alive and well, which is surprising that it's not like our biggest show. You would think there'd be way more cars, maybe just like there's people.
It's pretty mild.
People are just not, they're living it. So maybe it's not as like a celebration for them, where you go to a place that doesn't have them and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this car before. Whereas in Tacoma, they're like, oh yeah, we see those all the time.
I'm saying in terms of like being able to drive older cars and the cars like persisting in good condition, like the climate's pretty.
It's great for that, and I think also like just the persona of people there, like keeping their cars and
keeping them forever.
Anyways, that was a random side note.
Cool,
but I saw an immaculate hard-bodied Pathfinder 2-door when we were up there just driving around. That's it for questions.
Pathfinder. Was it a 2-door? You said
2-door.
Oh, those are
so
cool.
Posted some nice camping rigs as well. So
that's the other thing up there.
It's stuff up there.
Yeah, you have to listen to Camping Well Awesome for that. But man, that is like camping, just rig central. Everyone has like, a lot of Toyotas, of course, but a lot of racks and rooftop tents and all that stuff. But I don't know if they're using them, but they're there. A lot of beards, a lot of flannels,
a lot of axes.
So, a lot of axes.
A lot of shovels.
Thank you. Shovels. Yep. Awnings. Ready for trivia? I think it's time.
I'm always ready for trivia.
We've done it.
Whether I'll do well or not, I don't know.
Nick, could you do the honors? Would you mind? This news story caught my eye here because it affects art a great deal.
Oh, shit.
I hope you haven't seen this.
Oh, man. Is it a Montana thing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is it a Evoque cross cab thing?
The government of South Australia. First of all, I didn't know that was a thing. South Australia. Is that just like the bottom little corner there?
I guess it's a.
Anyways,
I don't know either.
State.
The government of South Australia is banning what from cars?
It affects me greatly.
I wanna guess what Art might say.
Is he banning swaps? Are they banning? Are they banning engine swaps?
It's a good guess. Nick, do you have a guess?
Aftermarket shift knobs.
Oh,
yeah, no, that's it. ZHP shift knobs are outlawed.
Specifically. Yeah.
No, that is a good guess. Swaps, not shift knobs.
I kind of want to guess another guess.
Yeah,
Another
please,
guess.
please.
Is it a Australian? I'm sorry. Is it a kangaroo foreskin? Or what was it last time?
That's it.
Kangaroo
Foreskin interiors.
kangaroo scrotum.
Yeah, it's
shift
not.
knobs.
It's not fair to all the other people that can't have them. Is why they're banning it.
Yeah.
It's not the actual stuff.
I'll throw another one in there.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go?
Go for it.
Aftermarket exhaust.
No.
What the hell? What is it going to affect me that much?
This is gonna mess you up. And hushy pushy. You guys are fucked up from this.
They're banning anime. I'm not in anime anymore.
Yeah. They are banning the disabling of traction control in high-powered vehicles.
No.
How if they can enforce?
What are you
going
gonna do? How are you gonna drive a car?
Dude, I'm not. I'm boycotting. I'm gonna
You're
be.
boking?
I'm gonna boca. I'm gonna be Forrest Gump, dude. I'm just gonna walk the earth and just.
Yeah.
Just, I'm over it.
Apparently, there was a horrible accident where a girl was killed by some douchebag in a Lamborghini,
Oh, of course.
and it triggered this whole thing. So, the move comes in the wake of a controversial local court case regarding the fatal accident in 2019. In the incident, 15-year-old Sophia Naismith was tragically killed when she was hit by an out-of-control Lamborghini Huracan driven by Alexander Campbell. And apparently, Campbell was acquitted of death by dangerous driving, instead pleading guilty to a lesser offense of driving without due care. The verdict prompted swift backlash from the community, and of course, everyone's pissed off this douche killed this girl and didn't get death penalty, I guess. So they are saying that there's a need for law reform in this area of people in overpowered cars. And one of the things they're talking about adding is a special license to own these high-powered cars.
That's cool. I'm down.
Which I'm kind of down with that.
Yeah. I've been
That's
in favor
cool.
of tiered licensure for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll see what comes of it. But the fact that one guy crashes a car and then it's like, you can't, everyone has to pay the price kind of sucks. But at the same time, there's a lot of douchebags in those cars.
Well, as I understand it, Australia has really cracked down in the last maybe 5 to 10 years. On,
Oh, really?
It could be more recently than that even, on exhibition driving and
just
racing
high speed
and
stuff.
like that.
There's a lot of
because I think they had a
hooliganism.
lot of that stuff like we have here, like the
Takeovers,
shows,
yeah.
takeovers and stuff. And so they just swung sort of in the other direction, and they're really cracking down on all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
How do you enforce a ban on you gotta, when you get pulled over, you just hit the button, right?
Yeah. I guess if you get into an accident, it would record it, right?
Sure.
That was the only thing.
Oh,
that's the only
yeah.
So
thing.
then they just
And if you're doing burnouts, obviously.
clearly,
that's-
if you've defeated the traction control system, yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
But I'm sorry.
I'm
Rest in peace.
devastated, dude. I'm basically, so now I have to just own pre-traction control cars.
Yes.
Is that the loophole?
Yeah, exactly.
it's a loophole.
I don't know what you'll do, but
Yeah.
even your rental cars and stuff.
Fuck.
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to hand you the keys. I'm sorry.
I know.
I can't drive.
So sorry.
So with that being said, so Australia is notoriously gnarly in general, speed limits and all that kind of shit. So I can see this now becoming a thing where what about now it's it starts to trickle into the banning of certain cars, right? It's okay, if you have a modified car and it doesn't have traction control, Australia is so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I got a speeding ticket for going 3 kilometers over the speed limit from a speeding camera. I was in a tunnel and I didn't know. I was just fucking driving a rental car and I got a ticket at home. Traction control off. Very much off. I was in a Holden Monaro, and I got really sideways everywhere in it. And it was automatic, unfortunately, but it was still fun. And I got a ticket months later in San Francisco for 3 kilometers over.
Well, you're breaking the law. So
Breaking the law.
No tolerance.
I mean,
Zero
he's
tolerance.
admitting it right away.
They're pretty hardcore, down there.
Yeah, well, apparently it's going to get harder core.
I'm just wondering if South Australia, Southern Australia,
South Australia.
is that the
I think
province or whatever?
South
is actually
Australia.
the entire size of the contiguous United States.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's the entire thing. Well, I mean,
Because it's quite the scale of Australia is very confusing.
It is.
It's an island, but it's massive, and
Yeah,
I
and
don't know if
everyone
it's that
lives
big,
around
though.
there.
No, it's not that big.
It's very big, but
being
not
facetious,
that big.
but like
Yeah.
could be.
You know that road
Yeah.
in South Australia,
Larger than
Southern
California.
Australia. It goes kind of along the coast on the very bottom of Australia.
Yep.
It's the straightest road in the world. I think it's 90 miles completely straight. And then there's they put in a chicane
Just to keep people awake.
Just so truckers would like
Just to
not just
keep you
fall
honest.
but 90 miles. They should do like every
Yeah,
10 miles or something. But one chicane and then it goes like another 50 miles or something. I forget the road, but
I think it goes across the entire country, doesn't it? Like,
well,
there's
it's on the
one straight-
bottom.
Oh, because there's one that goes across the middle. I forget
Yeah,
what it's
but I
called.
don't think that's as straight. But yes,
It's
there's
got some twisties.
And then there they do, I think, like 4 or 5 semi truck trailers, right? They call them road trains or something.
Yep.
I've never been to Australia.
Yeah.
I want to.
Australia
Well,
is
nor have
it feels just like the U.S., but people have a different accent and they drive on the other side of the road.
Thank you, Art.
But it feels
What
like
about
a
the
young
kangaroos?
country. They have kangaroos.
and they're
So
bringing the Tasmanian tiger
kangaroos.
too.
Kangaroos are their deer. That's the way they see them.
Oh dear.
Same thing.
All right, let's go. That's podcast.
Okay.
Let's
See you next time. Goodbye.
get in there,
So
Lewis.
well. Farewell. Goodbye.
Later.
We'll see you later.